All right, let's talk about a really fascinating, kind of weird piece of camera history. We're going to dive into the story of a legendary Nikon camera that, well, wasn't really a Nikon at all. It's a fantastic tale of secret partnerships, brilliant engineering, and a camera that basically changed everything from the shadows.
So that's the big question, right? How on earth does a camera that was actually built by a competitor not only become a success for Nikon, but also secretly introduce a technology that would define the entire future of photography? Let's dig in.
To get this story, you got to meet our two main characters. First up, you've got the iconic Nikon F. I mean, this thing was the professional camera. A total tank, built like a rock, the camera you saw in every war zone. And then, you have this other one, the Nikkorex F. Lighter, simpler, and aimed at a completely different crowd. And their stories are way more connected than you'd think.
So where does this all begin? Well, it starts with a problem that's actually a pretty good one to have: being too successful. Nikon had a massive hit on its hands, and that created a huge, unexpected challenge for them.
Just get a load of that number. Over 860,000 Nikon Fs. For a high-end professional camera, that is a staggering number. It was an absolute smash hit with the pros, and they were selling them as fast as they could possibly make them. But that right there, that was the trap.
See, here's the thing you have to remember about companies like Nikon. The real money, the long-term profit, isn't just in the camera bodies, it's in the lenses. To sell more lenses, they needed to get into the consumer market with a more affordable camera. The problem? Their factories were running 24/7 just to keep up with demand for the Nikon F. They literally had zero capacity to build anything else.
And this is where the story takes a really interesting turn. So if you can't build the camera you need, what do? You find someone who can. Nikon started looking for a partner, and they found a surprisingly perfect one.
Talk about perfect timing. Just as Nikon was trying to solve this problem, it turned out that another respected camera maker, Mamiya, had a brand new camera body that was pretty much ready to go. So Mamiya agreed to modify it to accept Nikon's lenses, and just like that, a secret partnership was born.
And you won't believe how fast this all happened. The Nikon F launches in '59, and it's a huge hit. Just about 2 years later, Nikon identifies this production problem and goes knocking on Mamiya's door. And by 1962, bam! The Nikkorex F is on store shelves. That is an incredibly fast turnaround.
But here's the thing. This camera wasn't just some cheap placeholder. Hidden inside it was a piece of technology that was a total gamble at the time. A gamble that would pay off in a way that, frankly, no one could have possibly imagined.
Okay, quick tech lesson, I promise it's worth it. A focal plane shutter is basically the little curtain inside the camera that zips open and closed to let light hit the film. For decades, these were typically made of cloth and they moved horizontally, side to side. But the Nikkorex F, it did something completely different.
This camera's secret weapon was something called the Copal Square shutter. Now at the time, this was totally unproven tech. Instead of cloth curtains moving sideways, it used metal blades that traveled up and down, vertically. It was a radical new design, but man, did it work. It proved to be incredibly reliable and a massive success.
And here it is. Here's the punchline. This fake Nikon, built by Mamiya, was one of the very first cameras to use a shutter design so good it became the blueprint for the entire industry. That fancy digital camera you have in your bag right now? Yep, its shutter is a direct descendant of the one secretly pioneered inside the Nikkorex F.
So we know it was a technological pioneer, but what happened to it? What was its fate? Well, its story was far from over. Even after Nikon was done with it, it had a whole other life. Or two.
Now, to hit that lower price point for consumers, they had to cut some features, right? The Nikkorex F gave up all the pro stuff from the Nikon F. No interchangeable viewfinders, no motor drive coupling, no mirror lockup. It was simply built to be lighter, less complex, and way more accessible for the everyday photographer.
So did it work? Oh yeah, they sold nearly 70,000 of these cameras in just 3 years. It absolutely did its job. The Nikkorex F successfully opened up a whole new consumer market for Nikon, and it sold a whole lot of lenses in the process. Mission accomplished. But here's the final amazing twist. After Nikon eventually launched their own in-house consumer model, the Nikomat, the Nikkorex F didn't just disappear. Mamiya turned around and sold the design to Ricoh, who released it as the Ricoh Singlex. It was even sold in Sears department stores.
This fake Nikon had a surprisingly long and varied life under a bunch of different names.
And one last fun little fact for you. In some countries, like Germany, Nikon dropped the Nikorex name entirely and just called it the Nikkor's J, tying it even more closely to their prestigious lens branding.
When you step back and look at the whole picture, the story is just incredible. A camera that wasn't really a Nikon, built by Mamiya to solve a production problem, ended up pioneering a revolutionary shutter from a third company, Copal, that became the modern industry standard. You just can't make this stuff up.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Every piece of technology we use has a story, often filled with secret partnerships and unexpected twists just like this one. What other hidden legacies are sitting right in front of us in the tech we use every single day?